Cameron, what's shaking? Scott Gibson, what's shaking? Stacy R, hello, how are you? Otto, what's shaking? Let's see. Let me go through here. Slayer of MobTube. That's an interesting name. I take it he only does one thing. Robert J. Cash, what's shaking? From Bigfoots to Big Mouths. Way to change it up. Yeah, a little bit of that. Yankees for life. What is shaking, my friend? Like I said, for everybody that's in here, West Texas, what's shaking, my friend? For everybody that's in here, I don't want you to think this is drama. This is not where I'm going with it, but I'm going to address some things. But I'm not going to do that first because there's a lot of things going on. Number one, I continue to get emails about Michael Franzese not being a rat. So I'm going to prove to all of you once and for all, he's a rat. And we'll just leave that right there at the door. Anybody that tells you otherwise does not know what the fuck they're talking about. It seems like the term rat only applies when people don't like people. By definition, sitting down with the cops, giving up information on anybody. I don't care who you are. That's how the streets see that action. Okay? It's not my personal point of view. That is what the streets say. So Michael Franzese is no different than anybody else. I don't give a fuck who he is. He is 100% a rat. But when people like him, they tend to gloss over what he did to people. And that's some bullshit. And we're going to straighten that out. That's number one. Glad you could make the live too, Ruby. Number two, if you guys have been following the news, a guy in Chicago got outed as an informant after he's been dead for like a week or whatever the case may be. Icepick, Chicago outfit guy. And I have some things I want to say about that. You're right. A rat is a rat is a rat. So one of the things that we are going to do, hold on, let me check this. I would love to see episode of Horror Podcast with the two guys that tried to escape Outcast. We are going to do that. That is one of the things that are coming up. Timothy, how are you? Thank you. And I'm glad you like my stuff as well. Excuse me. I got a little cold going on, so I'm going to cough every couple of minutes. But tonight we are going to cover the Chicago outfit stuff. And it kind of leads to a bigger narrative about the FBI. And I've already pre-recorded that. And then when we come back from that, I'm going to address a couple of things. And I'll be in the chat the whole entire time. And after we play the video and we address a couple of things, then we're going to talk about something nobody talks about. And it's the three captains' murders. Because I think history and a lot of mob pundits and authors totally got it wrong. Not about the players, but the design behind it. And there's something that I think nobody's ever really talked about that I kind of want to lay on you and see what you think. So all of that being said, I am going to start. It's about a 20-minute video. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll get your thoughts after the fact.
Radio with your host, Jeff Canarsie.
So for those of you that might have been living under a rock the last 2 days, it's coming out that Jimmy Icepick Inendino, who's allegedly, at least according to the FBI, the underboss of the Chicago outfit, they have produced paperwork saying that he was an informant. Now, according to everything that's coming out, Inendino, who died like last week, according to law enforcement, was, like I said, the alleged underboss, and apparently had been giving up information to the feds from March of 1965 to May of 1969, then from May 1974 to March of 1975. Now, according to the info that I was able to sort of get my hands on, he was giving up specific information about truck cargo thefts, which was his specialty. The details were released in an FBI memo, which has hit the press and everything like that. Jimmy was known as Icepick for certain reasons. If that tells you anything, he was known as 6931-C, which is typically what the FBI does when they give an informant their specialty number. And this just raises a bigger question to me. No, I don't like the fact that anybody rats. Okay, so we're not going to go down the rabbit trail, but it raises a bigger question. What's the point? The guy's dead. He was 80 years old. According to the FBI, he supplied information in the 1960s and 1970s. And I'll tell you again, March 65 to May of 69. So there's 4 years that he was giving up information. Then from May 74 to March of 75, another year, he's given up information. And everything that seems to be coming out is he was just giving information up on cargo thefts, which giving up information either way is never a good thing. I'm not going to argue that talking about people or giving up information is a good thing. But I question the motives of the FBI at this point. Why do you release this after he's dead and buried and in the ground? Now, some of you are going to say, well, they're protecting him and that's why they're doing it now. But obviously, whatever he gave them was not very substantial. And the reason and what proves to us that it was not substantial, and I'm not negating, it wasn't substantial, so it's not bad. I'm not negating that. But what I'm telling you is it obviously wasn't humongous news, because had it been, he would have surely testified in court. He would have surely put a lot of people in prison, because you cannot build a criminal case against anybody and then decide, oh, I'm not going to testify, because they can't use the information that you're supplying to hammer home a federal case, which is why in federal cases, when we see informants, they're always there to testify. And so the problem is we don't know what he said. It's bad. I mean, if it's I believe it to be accurate. Nobody has proved to me otherwise until that information comes forward. But I'm going to remind you of a case. Just in the last year, they came out and said Carmine Persico was a rat because the idiot looking at the paperwork didn't know how to read the paperwork. And he erroneously called Carmine Persico an informant when he wasn't. And to me, that just, so unless somebody comes to me and says, here's the deal, he really didn't say anything, they got all this screwed up. But this is coming directly from the FBI. Is the FBI capable of lying about shit? Absolutely, 100% to stir the pot, 100%. But this was dated back in those dates. So it's not like this is a new thing they just kind of came up with. But you have to ask yourself, why now? Why bring this up now? Because obviously, whatever information he provided, there wasn't a criminal case. He didn't testify. No, a lot of big heavyweights didn't go to prison. So obviously, if he did give something, it was shit and bullshit. It was, chump shit. Doesn't negate what he did. But what is the point of bringing that out now? Well, there's a couple of reasons why the FBI would want to do this. Number one, it's a slap into the face of the hierarchy, because according to law enforcement, he was involved in the hierarchy. Now, whether or not you want to believe that is up to you. That's not what I'm here to discuss. But it also is meant to tickle the wire. And the feds do that all the time. They will tickle the wire just to get people on the street talking. And that they usually do that when they have nothing. When they have nothing, that's what they do. They tickle the wire to get guys to start talking, and they try to pick up new shit. And so would he have been considered a high-value target? Probably not. If you're just giving up money on fucking cargo theft, that's really nothing. It's still bad. It's still a rat fucking thing to do. So I'm not going to negate what he did, what the FBI is alleging, but more so I have a question as to why they're doing this. Do they not realize that puts his family in jeopardy? Do they not realize the position that puts him in or his family in? What is the point of ruining a man's reputation after he's dead? And that's sort of my thing. And it's always these pencil-pushing pricks who are like, oh, yeah, everybody thinks he was such a tough guy. Let's just put it out. Let's put the information out. He was a rat. Let's throw some pages out. That'll ruin his credibility, or that'll ruin his whole entire reputation. What the fuck is the point of doing that? I could see if the guy was testifying and all this kind of stuff. Okay, fine, it makes sense. But to do this after a man is dead is pathetic, and it's disgusting because there's no justification for it. What's the justification? Name me one positive attribute that comes out because of this, other than they want to rattle the cages of Solly D and some of these other guys. That's the only thing they're trying to do. Tickle that wire. But it's a much bigger moral question. And that's why I wanted to talk about this. I'm not going to talk about fucking Jimmy Icepick's fucking background and none of that. I'm not going to do that. What I want to talk about is the shit that the FBI does. Because they're underhanded. They have no fucking morals whatsoever. I.e. Gravano killed a kid. We know that. We've talked about that at length. Phil Narducci's case, they brought a known fucking terrorist who had been sentenced to death in Lebanon. A known terrorist, and gave him sanctuary on an expired visa. This is what, knowing the guy was selling drugs, knowing the guy was borrowing legitimate money from legitimate lending companies, scamming everybody over in South Philadelphia, gets a legit, and when I tell you legit, I mean legal paperwork, notarization, gets a legit loan. Then he realizes, oh, I'm getting it from this guy. Oh, word is he's a XYZ, he's a gangster, he's whatever. So the guy fucks him over and stops paying and then runs to the FBI and says, you're not going to believe who gave me money. And that's as simple and quick as how it happens. But there's tapes that we played that a lot of the public has never heard. I have this informant on tape. How I got him doesn't fucking matter. But you have this informant, the whole time he's giving information on Phil Narducci, he's trying to get money from other people with the same lies. Oh, my mother, she's got cancer of the prick. She's got cancer of the ears. She's bleeding out of her ass. I need money. I need money. I need money. So he's trying to scam other fucking people. The FBI knew it. They didn't give a fuck because it needed to fit a narrative. So we protected a known fucking terrorist so they could try to indict somebody for loan sharking. Gee, I don't know. When you sort of look at the reality of things, what's the bigger evil here? A fucking known terrorist or a guy loaning money to people, which was legitimate. It wasn't illegitimate money. It was all legit. And the only thing that compounded that case was because somebody gets upset that their wife's company's getting ripped off, and you pick up the phone and say, listen, why are you disrespecting my wife? She did you a huge favor. We let you borrow money, and you just like fucking welshing on the money. What the fuck is wrong with you? But of course, because a guy has a past, they're going to warp that and manipulate that into some sort of organized crime, loan shark and beef. And that's exactly how it happened. The FBI knew he was a fucking terrorist. They didn't care. They didn't care that he was here on an expired visa, so he shouldn't even have been in the fucking country. They know he's selling drugs. They know he's trying to get cases on 10 other people, but they don't give a fuck because it fits their narrative. The Joey Merlino trial, another example. J.R. Rubio, the worst fucking informant guy to testify in a court case ever. Got caught lying, perjured himself nonstop, tried to blackmail the judge, tried to blackmail the FBI people. 97 of, 111 days, he went unsupervised by the FBI. Then the dumb fuck to top it all off, gets in trouble on a podcast lying, saying he framed, or not lying, but saying he framed people. He admitted to framing people on a podcast to make his case better so he could get no jail time. This is the shit the FBI fucking allows. They allowed this. And it's not just one or two cases. And listen, I'm not saying the world's perfect. I'm not saying that everybody's bad or everybody's good. But you have to question the motives of the FBI. Because I wish so when we stop this and we go to our next thing, I want somebody to come on here and explain to me what the benefit is of talking about a guy who's deceased, who the last, at least according to the FBI, the last time he ever talked was 1975. So in totality, 65 to 69, that's 4 years. 74 to 75, that's 1. So for 5 years, off and on, he told the FBI shit. 1975 was the last time he gave them any information. It's 2023. What the fuck? So my question is, why bring this out now? Listen, if somebody's a rat, it should be publicly noted. It should be outed. Informant should be outed. That's just the way things are. And when I say that, I think it's because you got to level the fucking playing field. And I'll give you an example. The example would be, if you are going to impugn my character by bringing up everything I've ever been alleged to have done and not convicted on, then why can we not look at an informant and impugn them on their character based on all of the fucking lies they've told, on all the crimes they've continued to commit while on the FBI payroll? Anthony Pergiano, a beautiful example of that. And that's why I tell you that the justice system, the scales are fucking weighted to one side. Because you can impugn a motherfucker who's accused of loan sharking. You can impugn a guy accused of murder, but you can't impugn the informant telling on him. To me, that's bullshit. So in other words, if the FBI had acknowledged that Sammy Gravano killed the 16-year-old, how do you think that that jury would have looked at Gravano? Seriously. And that's exactly why that rat prick bastard loser fuck Gleason buried all that information, along with the DEA reports. Because if the DEA reports come out, Gleason has to admit that Gravano perjured himself, which means he lied. Which means everything he says after the fact, nobody's going to fucking believe. And it's one thing to put an American jury in the jury box and say, okay, it's the mafia. So all of a sudden these people are thinking it's like Goodfellas, the fucking Godfather, all of this nonsense. But imagine if you said, and by the way, Sammy Gravano killed and shot a 16-year-old boy in the back of the head for no fucking reason. Mistaken identity, whatever he wants to make up. Because his story's changed 6 fucking ways from Sunday. Imagine if the jury had fucking heard that. Do you think the jury would have bought anything Gravano had to say after that? Do you think that the onus on the jury would have been like, you know what, Gravano's still a good guy, he's putting away John Gotti? No, they would have looked at Gravano like a fucking animal, because that's what he was. And that's my point. I'm not expecting anybody to follow my log line of what I think of informants, but let's just be realistic about what's admissible from the prosecution side and what's apparently not admissible on the defendant's side. In Phil's case, they weren't even going to let anybody acknowledge that he was a fucking terrorist. They didn't want to acknowledge that. So guess what I fucking did? I made sure everybody fucking knew, and I don't give a fuck who knows it. And oh, they were fucking pissed at me. Oh, was the prosecution pissed at me? Little John Hahn wanted to lock me the fuck up over it. Fuck him. Be fair. Be honest. There's nothing wrong with saying, listen, you know, we're trying to put Mr. Narducci in prison, but we have to acknowledge certain facts. And the certain facts are, he's a goddamn terrorist. But no, they wanted a judge to seal that shit. And I would do it again tomorrow in a heartbeat for anybody. I would fucking out a rat every fucking day of the week and go to prison for it. Because if the government's going to come after you, you have the right to defend yourself. You have the right, if they're going to impugn your character and bring up 30 years of bullshit, then you have every right to impugn their character as well. Those are just facts. But judges often don't allow that. And we've seen that time and time and time and time and time again. Unless you get a really good judge who is very evenly based, forget it. Even Judge Sullivan wouldn't allow the fucking Rubio tapes in. And oh my God, let me tell you, that fucker was talking about aliens landing, about blackmailing this one, blackmailing that one. He said on a tape, I'm going to fuck Joey Merlino in the ass and see that he gets 200 years in prison. because I'm here because of him. No, you're there, you dumb fuck, because you got caught selling drugs. That's why you're there. Then you became a fucking rat. Then you tried to frame everybody else. That's why you're there. But yet you couldn't play those tapes. You couldn't play those tapes showing Rubio is intentionally making shit up to try to put a guy in prison because he doesn't like him. He's blaming everybody else for his problems but himself. So it's a much bigger problem morality-wise when it comes to the FBI. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. Any way they can bend, manipulate, and put the scale on their side, they're going to do it. And I've said this 1,000 fucking times when people go, oh, if I wasn't guilty of a crime, I wouldn't fucking plead out. Yes, you would. You know why? Because they can keep taking you back to trial and bankrupt your ass. They can bankrupt you and bend you at the knees. Even people who like informants are going to tell you that. The best you can hope for is to be acquitted. Then you're good to go. But you get that fucking mistrial, guess what? State will bring you back. The government will keep bringing you back because they have blank checks. And most people, they know, especially African Americans, cannot afford a high dollar attorney. And that's why you have so many fucking stupid convictions on drugs, like for marijuana and stupid shit like that. That's why plea deals are the big thing. Because they know they'll just keep coming after you, take everything you fucking own, and then you're going to end up with a public fucking pretender who isn't going to do shit for you but negotiate a plea deal. Those are just facts. And that's what's wrong with the justice system. And it just goes back to what I've said all along. The morality of the feds. So please, I want somebody to come on here and explain to me, what is the purpose of outing someone who's fucking died? What does society stand to gain from that? What does the FBI gain from that? Because really, all that does is not only is his family suffering because the man has fucking died, who was beloved by a lot of different people, okay, because I spoke to somebody that knew him very well. That's number one. Number two, now you're going to ruin his reputation and he's fucking dead. Imagine his family have to hear that. And now you got anybody else that might have been associated with him worrying. What's the fucking point? And that's why I told you, the only reason why they do this is because they don't give a fuck about anybody. They want to tickle that wire. They want to get guys talking. That's all it is. And to me, it's a scumbag fucking thing to do. The guy's fucking dead. Why didn't you bring this shit out in 60, 67, 68, 69 when he started? You know, and I'm not saying that it shouldn't be public, but I question the motive as to why after a guy's died you do this shit. It's just fucking pathetic. And Icepick was no fucking joke. In fact, we're going to play a tape of a phone call where he wants his fucking money. And if he doesn't get his fucking money, he knows exactly how he's going to fucking handle it. So we're going to play that, and then we're going to open it up to the chat.
Hello? Mike? Yes? Is that motherfucker there? Yeah, let me talk to him. And every Friday from here on in, you have what you're supposed to have in this joint. If we don't see you tomorrow by 6 o'clock, you don't owe nobody nothing. You understand? You have it here by 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Believe me when I tell you, and I promise you this. Believe me, I promise you. I'll break every fucking bone in your body before I go to jail. Every fucking bone in your body. I swear to my kids. You understand? All right, sir. Okay. Bye-bye.
He wasn't fucking around on the phone, was he? He wanted that money for sure. And that's just my point. Regardless of what he is, what he was, doesn't matter to me. He's dead. Can't affect nobody now. But the question is, why even do it? Why even go that far? And I'm going to tell you what, you think you guys have ex-wives, ex-boyfriends or whatever that are like cringy and like crazy and are bitter. I have never seen or met a condition of life unlike the FBI. Those motherfuckers take shit to their grave, bitter and angry. How many nights do you think these agents sat in their office drinking coffee wanting to just slap John Gotti? They didn't have the balls to do it, but how many nights do you think that they sat there screaming, we got to get this motherfucker. We got to get him. And then there were probably some that were very happy that he died a horrible death in prison, because that's the way they are. If you're just a guy who is a Johnny Law guy and you become an agent and you just do your job and it's not personal, it's just your job, that's one thing. But some of these fucking guys take this beyond. And I could tell you stories from street guys with the FBI just tailing them around, harassing them, trying to put a stop to legitimate work that they're doing just because they want to arrest somebody. It's crazy. It's just absolutely fucking crazy to me. All right, so let me get rid of this thing real quick. All right, so I just want to show something. I don't want to get into a long conversation about this, but I'm going to just show you guys something, okay? Because I'm sick and tired of people telling me he's not a rat, all right? So if we can all agree, this is where you guys are going to get to participate, okay? In your opinion, someone who signs a cooperation agreement with the United States government to give them information on their friends and to testify in a court of law and put people in jail, if they are a rat, press number 1, please. Please press number 1. If someone signs a cooperation agreement with the feds, testifies in court, gives them names and ranks, and gets a sentence reduction in return for that, does that make them a rat? Press number 1. Okay, so by that standard, Michael Franzese is a fucking rat. Okay? And I don't want to hear conspiracies and, oh, it was all a setup deal, because it wasn't. He was a fucking rat. A certifiable goddamn fucking puke rat. All right. Under the deal, Franzese was released from prison on May 10th of 89 after serving 3.5 years of a 10-year sentence. That means he got a sentence reduction for racketeering and conspiracy. In addition, the pact gave Franzese immunity from prosecution. It kept his 5-year probation sentences and fines. In return, Franzese was to turn over everything he knew about mob activities and associates. Prosecutors only had a year until April 30th of 1990 to pump him. He was also required to testify at trial. So moving down a little bit more, here we go. His biggest contribution as an informant has been his 1989 testimony against New York talent and sports agent Norby Walters, who was convicted of racketeering for illegally signing college athletes, blah, blah, blah. Now, Norby Walters, his sentence was turned around on prosecutorial issues, but he also ratted out a goddamn janitor who worked in his father's office. He is a fucking rat. Anybody that can sit there and tell you, well, he's not a rat, is out of their fucking minds. And people that will tell you he is not a rat, they do this subconsciously because they like him. So that word rat only applies to people they don't fucking like. There have been men that have done less than Franzese and people call them rats. So why doesn't that apply to Franzese? Why does that not apply to Franzese? Seriously, somebody tell me he's not a rat. Because this is what I get sick and fucking tired of. He signed a cooperation agreement. So it's not like he says where, well, I didn't give him anything. I just sat in jail. Motherfucker, you got sentenced to 10 years in federal prison. Only did 3 because you ratted people out. Names, ranks, positions. Norby Walters, a fucking janitor. The boxing commission shit. He gave up a lot of people. That's why his father said, if you guys want to kill him, go right the fuck ahead. I don't care. Because his own father looked at him like he was a rat. And so that's my thing. And this is exactly right. People in this world have a thing called selective morals. And that's my point. You cannot apply that term rat to one guy because you don't like him and then turn around when the other guy did basically the same exact shit and say, no, he's not a rat. It's got to be a conspiracy. It's conspiracy. No, it's not. He's a fucking rat. It's that simple. It's that simple. Thank you. There is nothing to discuss. If you sit with the government, you're a rat. Jeff, was there never ever a threat to him? Oh, he got threatened a whole lot, but when his father died, he said, I can't go back because I'm facing threats. No, that's not true. In fact, he didn't see his father the last 3 years he was alive. He didn't offer to help his mother when she had no money because Sonny was in prison. She said, Michael, can you please help me? Fuck you, you're on your own. When his father got out of prison at 101 fucking years old and had no money, he had to rely on his military pension because Michael refused to help him out. He's a man of God, has all this fucking money, but could give a fuck less about his own family. Funny how that works. Fuck him. He's a rat. He's a rat. And I got nothing personal to gain out of this, but I'm just being honest. Stop perpetuating that he's not an informant. Because the same people that keep saying he's not an informant, it blows my goddamn mind. And I was on a show recently where somebody got into a debate with me about that, saying he's not an informant. Really? You would call me a rat if I did that? So it just goes to show people just don't want to fucking call him that because they like him. A rat is a fucking rat. Bottom line. End of story. End of story. He's not a man of God. He's a fraudster. That's all he is. Is he a smart guy? Sure. Is he likable to a certain extent? Sure. He's got panache, but he's a goddamn fucking rat. That's what he is. He's no better than Gravano. They're both the same thing. The bottom of an elephant's ball bag. And that's it. When I go on shows and I tell somebody, because this is what I do for a living. This is what I do for a living. If I tell you that's the case, that's the case. But guess what? Here's the end of the deal for you. My opinion does not matter. It doesn't make a hill of beans. Paperwork tells a different story. The streets will tell you a different story. And in my world, the streets' opinion is the only one that fucking matters, not mine. And that's just the truth. And that's the truth. I've been bringing this topic up, Ben, for I think I was the first one to come out calling him a rat, but nobody else wants to. It's very selective. And I'm going to give you a reference point, and people are not going to like what I'm going to have to say. People fucking call John A. Light a rat, which he is. He's a low-life piece of shit. Fuck him. But so is Michael Franzese. Michael Franzese was only in the position that he was in, not because he earned it, but because of daddy. His braggadocious business acumen is bullshit. He wasn't a tough guy either. He's another one who has taken and distorted reality. He bested John Gotti in a flea market deal. Who the fuck brags about that? Number one, it never happened. Okay? And here's another clue, guys. Here is another clue. Do you know that he told a story that when he was a soldier, he called Paul Castellano and told Paul Castellano to go fuck himself? Do you guys have any idea? First of all, Paul Castellano never would have talked to him on the phone because he was a nothing and a nobody. Second of all, he's going to tell the boss of the Gambinos and the head of the commission to go fuck himself, and there's not going to be a problem over chicken? Like, really? You guys believe this shit? And so that's the whole kind of thing that I'm getting at, you know? And yeah, okay. That's actually kind of funny. But that's just my point. That's just my point. Listen, it doesn't matter what I think. It's just the truth. It's just the truth. And the problem is when people like somebody, they just don't want to talk about the truth. And we don't have to agree. But if you're not going to call a spade, don't sit next to a rat and pretend he's not and then claim somebody else is. It just doesn't work that way. All right. So now that I get the Franzese shit out of the way, because I really did not want to go on and on and on about that. There is something else that I want to talk about. And this is the part that, let's just start here. Okay. So this is not really a big thing. I just got a lot of emails today, and it was from people saying, Was Stacks talking shit about you on his show because Angel said that you had the right to defend yourself, and Gene and his free speech and all this, that, and the third? Okay. So let me just be clear. Stacks never said anything about me. So I just don't want people running over there like attacking him because he didn't say anything about me. What Stacks' narrative on Gene Borello is that he felt that Gene Borello had a right to free speech, and he felt that the government shouldn't have restricted him. But what the truth of the matter is that the government had restricted him from using social media because of what he was doing on there. And he continued to assail and continued to attack people, myself particularly, Angel Gotti as well. And so that's basically where Angel's stance was coming from. And I think people misunderstood what she was actually trying to say. And she was just simply saying I had every right to defend myself, and people kind of took that and went the other direction with it. So I just wanted to clear that up. Stacks didn't do anything wrong. Angel didn't do anything wrong because she was just defending the reason why I was pissed, because I was called a pedophile nonstop. Okay. So for anybody that's friends with that guy, Borello can go fuck themselves. So I just wanted to sort of put that to the side because I don't want people going after Stacks for something he didn't do. Okay. All right. So the next thing I wanted to address, oh boy, is this. I thought long and hard about before I was going to even address this. So before I address that, let me just answer this, because I got derailed by the number ones in chat. Do you still play Mario Kart with the guy obsessed with it? Yeah. It's like 100 a game. 100 a game. This guy's a fucking maniac, this guy. All right, so let me go to this part. Also on Angel Gotti's show. Not her fault at all. Okay. Somebody went on her show. I'm not going to get into names and exactly what was said because, I'm not going to regurgitate it. However, this is what I am going to say. If you go on a show and you're supposedly friends with anybody, there are certain things you should just keep to yourself. There are certain things you shouldn't ask. There are people in life that are public figures. John Gotti was a public figure, unfortunately. And I listen, I understand what Angel goes through with that being her father. I understand how pissed off she gets because I had an experience very similar yesterday. Whether or not people understand it or not, if you don't know anybody I am related to, you should just shut your fucking mouth. Point blank. And if I tell you something in confidence, you should shut your fucking mouth. That's where it should be. This person apologized to me, okay? But I don't accept that apology, and I won't. Because there are certain things in life you do and certain things you fucking don't do. I'm not here talking about anybody else's family members, am I? No. And the person that you asked a question to doesn't know me, knows nothing fucking about me, knows nothing about my motherfucking family, so he should shut the fuck up too. That's the bottom line. I don't give a fuck if I have cousins that want to talk about whatever. That's their business. That doesn't give anybody else the right to do it. Bottom line. So shut your fucking mouth. And that is the only motherfucking warning you're going to get. Leave me, my family, whoever the fuck alone. And if you don't, there are remedies for that. Call it a fucking threat if you want. But when it comes to that, that is where my line in the sand is. And you know that. So please mind your business. Keep it moving. We're going to let this all go. But bottom fucking line, keep talking that shit and you're going to have an issue. And that goes for anybody. If you want to say something, just say it to me or email me. Ask me. Don't talk about shit I told you in confidence. Because that's not what friends fucking do. I'm just being honest. That's not what friends do. People sometimes say things, they don't think about what they're saying. I understand that. But you had no business asking a motherfucker who knows nothing about me or where I come from or who I'm related to. That pissed me off more than anything being said. So that's just where I stand. So we're going to move past that. Okay? I just ask that you respect how I feel about that. Just like you would hope that I would respect you. I don't talk about anybody's fucking family on here. I don't do that. And it's not like anybody said anything notorious or filthy or bad, but there was shit that was said years ago in private, which led to somebody asking somebody who has no fucking business talking about me to fucking begin with, or about anybody I'm related to. So shut the fuck up. And that's it. That is it. Just shut the fuck up. Leave me alone. If you don't, then there's consequences. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Just leave me alone. Go about your business. I'm sorry, guys. I just get really upset when it comes to family. I just don't like it. I don't like it. I have this thing where even if it's not something like negative, that's not your place to do that. You know, and the person apologized to me, and that's fine. And we're going to let that go. But I don't like the other motherfucker that tried to put his 2 cents in. He needs to shut the fuck up. And that's all there is to that. So, that's it. I don't want to yell at nobody. I don't want to be angry at anybody. Sometimes I need to vent, and that's it. I vent, and it's done. Bada boom, bada bing, bada boom, bada beep, bada boom, bada beep, bada boom. Done. It's done. I try to respect everyone. I try to be a nice guy. I haven't always been that way. And I admit that. I freely admit that. I was a scoundrel and a pirate for a long time. But when it just comes to people I love and care about, and you go that route, I go crazy. And people that know me know I was going to go crazy. So while I do appreciate the apology, I just didn't appreciate the way it was done. I didn't appreciate the way it came out. And I don't appreciate you saying anything to that other motherfucker. And I have reasons for that, but we're going to leave it at that. So has everyone had a nice Christmas? Is it Christmas? Anyway, so I don't want any of you going after anybody. If you watch shows, just keep watching them. I just needed to vent, because if I don't, I get in trouble. So there you go. I just vented. It's over. It's done with. If people want to make 10 videos about it, that's fine, but that's going to be a horrible fucking mistake if you do. That's it. Hello, Pasha. How are you? Well, you know, here's the thing. Here's the juxtaposition that I find myself in. People tell me all the time, don't even pay attention to these people or utter a word to them. They're garbage pails. They're this, they're that, and the third. But you know what? When it comes to people you love and care about, that's when you have to step up. And I can't blame anybody in this world for getting upset and sticking up for people they love. Good, bad, indifferent, right, wrong. Everyone has a right to do that. And what people don't have a right to do is they have no right to tell anybody how they should have to feel about that. Nobody has the right to tell you you don't have a right to feel that way. They can think maybe it's a mountain out of a molehill. But if that shoe is on the other foot, they feel the same way. And that's all there is to it. And anybody that knows me personally knows I go rat-a-tat-a-tat-a-tat-a-tat-a-tat, and then I'm done. And I let it go. The only time it simmers is when people keep poking me. So anyway, that's it. I don't want to talk about it. It's good to go. I don't want you guys mad at anybody. I want you treating everybody with the utmost respect, because that's important to me. Even people that I don't get along with, I will have nothing but the utmost respect for them, because that's how you handle yourself as a man. Don't call people filthy names. You just don't. The worst name I called somebody today, I think, was a fucking, well, I can't say that word because I'll get in trouble. But anyway, so what makes people feel like it's okay to bring up somebody else's family? You know, so in my particular case, I can say I don't think there was malice at all. I don't think anybody did it to be malicious to me. I just think that sometimes people are just talking and having a good conversation, and they say something, and probably when they look back on it, they're like, ooh, geez, you know, I might not have wanted to fucking say that. And the bigger issue is that certain people in my life are known in areas, but they're not public figures or whatever. And it's one thing if I make the decision to come out and say something, then at least it's on me or my cousin or whoever the case may be. But when you say something to certain types of people, that's what I don't like. So, it is what it is. I just address it head on, and I wasn't going to back down from it. But at the same time, it's not important to me to go, and yeah, this guy, Billy Bats of Ball Steel, he's the motherfucker that did it. It just because it's stupid. I'm just addressing it. It is what it is. People don't think sometimes. Yeah, I didn't sit here at all today thinking you did this intentionally, you motherfucker. It had nothing to do with that. I never thought for 1 second, because I don't think this person has a hostile bone in their body, but shit happens. And unfortunately, I am a very high-strung, don't fuck around kind of guy, and I go from 0 to 100 because I expect people to think ahead and not say certain shit. I probably, believe it or not, and I can admit this as a man, I could have handled it a little differently than I did. I could have, and I should have, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? That's all. It is what it is. Yeah, Billy Bats. I was trying to think of fucking a funny name. All right. So there's one other thing that I want to, I don't really have to. Jen wants to sum it up for me. Well, we'll see. Chardonnay is my buddy. She's my buddy down in South Philly. I love hanging out with her down there. Anyway, so it is childish. But you have to, unfortunately, you have to draw a line in the sand sometimes and just let people know where you stand. Billy, you're going to get me in a lot of fucking trouble. You do this every time, Billy. You come in here. And by the way, for people that don't know, I know who he is. And what he's doing is baiting me into saying some dumb shit because he knows that if I say it, people are going to call me. So now I got a gerbil named Amigo. There you go. Oh, geez. All right. So there's one other thing I kind of wanted to discuss. I thought my buddy Gorky would be around today, but he's not. So let's see. We talked about Franzese. All right. So let's talk about this, because for those of you that know, and I'll put this up really quick. We've been covering the Canada series over on the paid podcast. And here's something that a lot of people don't discuss. Whenever they talk about the 3 captains hit murders, specifically, as you know, Sonny Red and Delicato, Dominic Trinchera, Phil Giacone, all got murdered really by Joey Massino, Sal Vitale, Vito Rizzuto, Ragusa, and Gerlando Shasha. Okay. And the reason why this was going on was because at the time, obviously, we know Carmine Galante. First of all, Rusty Rastelli was voted in as the new boss of the Bonanno crime family, right? So he ends up back in prison. Galante gets out, blows the fucking doors off Costello's mausoleum, and pretty much announces himself as boss. Then he systematically starts killing made guys in the Gambino crime family, and Paul Castellano and everybody else is like, what the fuck do we do? I mean, he's killing made guys. He doesn't give a fuck. And the reason why is he wanted to take over complete control of the narcotics rackets in the city, which at the time was under the Gambino umbrella. Okay. So more or less what ends up happening is Galante makes Joey Massino, and Anthony Spiro and a couple other guys were inducted at the same time. And basically what ends up going down is Massino, as he's inducted, is still supporting Rastelli in the can. And eventually the bridges got to break. The dams got to break. Galante gets murdered because the rest of the mob was terrified of him. He was killing people. They said, he's got to go. So after that happens, they name Rastelli pretty much the boss yet again. And what ends up happening is that a interfaction of the family, Sonny Red and Delicato's crew, according to what Joey Massino had said, that he had heard on the streets that they were stockpiling weapons and they were going to, Sonny Red and his crew were going to kill Joey Massino's crew, and they were going to try to pretty much take over the whole entire crime family. So when Joey Massino allegedly hears this, he runs to Carmine Persico and he runs to Paul Castellano. Castellano at the time is the head of the commission. Okay. And he says that he hears on the streets that Sonny Red and Delicato is basically collecting all of these weapons and they're going to go to war. And what do I do? And he says, well, kill him. Do what you got to do. Here's the thing. Do I think that they gave the green light? 100%. But do I think that there was a stockpile of weapons? No. I think Joey Messino lied. And there's a good reason why he did. Because Joey Messino wanted to be boss. And that's the only way you get rid of competition. Because Sonny Red was a very powerful fucking guy. And let me just put this other little tidbit. If Sonny Red and Delicato, first of all, they wouldn't have needed to stockpile weapons to kill 3 guys, 4 guys, for Christ's sakes. You don't need to stockpile anything. So that's kind of bullshit. But that's what Messino needed to tell Castellano to sign off on it, right? But the real fucked up part is if Sonny Red, let's pretend for a second he had a conversation. He says, you know what? Let's kill these motherfuckers. Do you really think Sonny Red would have gone to a motherfucking meeting with the people he wanted to kill if he had planned all of that? No, Sonny Red was not a dumb fucking guy by any stretch of the imagination. Sonny Red knew something was going on because he told his son Bruno and he told Frank Lino, if I don't come back, you guys need to handle business. So my whole premise here is that when authors have written about this, they always tend to make it this big scheme of Sonny Red was the rebel crew and they were building up weapons and they were going to take on the whole entire family. I think it's bullshit. I don't think that ever happened. I think Joey Messino invented that shit to give him a reason, because Joey Messino had just been made a captain of the crime family and he was always only made a captain because of how he handled dealing with the commission when it came to Carmine Galante on behalf of Rusty Rastelli. But Indelicato had been a captain for over a decade at that point. So Indelicato was much more powerful than Joey Messino was. And how do you get to the top? Well, you topple the motherfucker that's right above you. So I've always thought that authors got it wrong, following the log line of the bullshit of they were stockpiling weapons. I don't think any of that happened. I just think that's what Joey Messino told them to get permission to do it. And the rest is, kind of fucking history. You know what I mean? Because there was never any proof of anything. I think the fact that, if you watch the movie Donnie Brasco, that is such a warped movie because they make Sonny Black friends with everybody. Do you know that Joey Messino was going to kill fucking Sonny Black? That was his first order of business after the 3 capos was to kill Sonny Black. He was going to do it anyway because Sonny Black was also allegedly behind the scenes scheming to take over. Once again, this is Messino putting the shit out on the street because he wants to take over, and that's the only way he can do it because Sonny Black was higher up in the food chain than him. And that's the way it went down. And that's what's funny to me is nobody ever talks about that. It's always got to be some big conspiracy and all of this. But it really wasn't. It was Joey Messino wanting to take over as boss. That's all it was. Because you got to look at the dates. How much longer after that did Joey Messino actually did become the boss? He played his cards. He played the angles. It's just... He was a rat and a schemy fuck, but he was a smart fuck too. But it's interesting because Whack Whack is out. So it'll be interesting to see if he takes a little trip down to Florida to go see Joey Messino. Yeah. Jeff, can you speak slowly? Nadu is writing everything down for his next show. Yeah. But no, I have never ever believed, hey Stacks, I've never ever believed for 1 second that Joey Messino was telling the truth. 100% he wasn't. 100% he wasn't. And who does he hand? Who does Joey Messino hand the murder contract to? Frank Lino, the guy who shows up with Dominic Trinchera and the rest of the guys, and somehow manages to escape getting killed that night in the hail of gunfire. And Messino says, "Listen, you're just a bystander. You're alive. It is what it is. I need you to kill Sonny Black." Okay. He was going to kill him anyway. The Pistone thing just sort of rushed that along. And so it's very interesting looking back, because if you read books on this and if you listen to podcasts on this, they never mention that. They always go, yeah, and Sonny Red and Delicato was a fucking crazy fuck. He was snorting coke and he was stockpiling weapons in vans. Why would you need to stockpile weapons in vans to kill 5 guys? Like, have these authors ever been in the streets? Like, Guys don't stockpile weapons. Only South Philadelphia stockpiles weapons like that. Only South Philadelphia can use a van on the Schuylkill Expressway to start blowing fucking machine gun fire through the fucking doors. Talk about the gang that couldn't shoot straight. Oh, I'm going to get in trouble for that one, but it's funny to me. You know, you would think there was more bullet holes inside the goddamn van in South Philly than were in fucking Stanfa's car. Oh, God. Sounds like the plot to a cheesy 80s crime drama. Hey, they want to stockpile weapons. Well, no, I mean, if you think about it, that's what he has to tell Persico, what he has to tell Castellano. If he just goes in there and says, so listen, Rastelli's the boss, and I'm sure that he put it in Rastelli's head too. I'm sure Massino put that in Rusty Rastelli's head and said, listen, I'm hearing things on the street. So then by proxy, he's already fed the bullshit to Rastelli, who says, well, fuck it, kill them. They're not going to take over. Go to the commission. So then he turns right around and goes to the commission and then gets the green light to do it. It's been done before. It's not like this is like some obscure sort of thing that happened. I could be wrong. What do you guys think? That's because Ron Previty was the driver of Food in One Hand. Joey, can you knock down a fucking racket over here? I'm trying to eat this fucking hero because I'm Ron Previty. Stop shooting the fucking M60. I can't hear myself think. Well, yeah, I did. That's what makes it even funnier. That's what makes this shit even funnier, Dave, is that there were gun ports and there were still blue holes in the side of the fucking van. Joey and his childhood friends are so much smarter than anybody really knows. They want Joey bad. The best, as always, to Joey. The only thing I'm going to say is I listen. I've said this from day one. You put the Bonanno crime family today. Let's say there's 120 guys, if that, right? How many of those guys do you think know each other, right? But then you look at something supposedly like South Philadelphia. They've known each other since they were in fucking diapers. It's always an outsider in Philly that starts talking and ratting. It's never somebody from within. They're one of the only crime families other than fucking Nicky DeCrow and Tommy Del Giorno and some of those creeps and that fucking mongoloid VC. But you get the point. It's never somebody really high up. But then again, also at the time, Nicky Scarfo was the boss. And, if the guy was willing to kill a fucking horse and throw a horse off a fucking cliff and kill a guy for taking his seat in the Oregon Diner. I mean, shit, what are you going to do? How about Stanfa wanted to whack Geraldo Rivera? Oh, yeah, that was my favorite. Oh, that was my favorite. He wanted to kill everybody. He wanted to kill George Anastasia too. He wanted to throw a fucking hand grenade through his window. God, do I wish that would have happened. It would have saved me a whole bunch of misery a couple years ago. Not really. I would never wish death on somebody like that. The nonstop elephant shits. Absolutely. He likes to talk about Havana Nocturne. I haven't had the chance to read it. Yeah, it's a great book. Fantastic book. If you are interested in Cuba, Meyer Lansky, Lucky Luciano, just the history of Cuba and everything that was kind of going around the scenes, that's the book to get. One of the best mob books I've ever read. Ron Previty. Yeah. I don't know what it was. You know what it was? I was watching Ron Previty one day. I was like, wow, his voice is easy to do. And I just started doing it for fun. And I was down in South Philly one night. And I can't remember if I stopped at Gino's or Pat's before I was heading somewhere else, and somebody walked by and goes, Ron Previty. And I looked over at him and he's like, hey, you're Jeff Canorsi. And I'm like, no, I'm not. You got the wrong guy. Because you never know, but I'm pretty well known down there. So I'm unfortunately recognized more often than I want. I found an old Nicky Scarfo pic I think you'd like. If you have a Gmail, I can send it your way. If not, all good. Yes, mob talk radio show at gmail.com. Here, I'll write it in the chat. Mob talk radio show at gmail.com. There we go. Just really read that out loud, didn't I? It is a really good book. It's one of the best books I've ever read. Jeff is the only person I really think is innocent is the Greek of Astoria that Chiodo killed. Yes. Okay, I know what you're talking about now. Best impression by well, you know, he was a meth head, right? Like he wasn't even a gangster. He was a nothing. He used to steal from people's hotel rooms. This guy was a fucking nothing. And like I literally heard another alleged mob content creator literally say he was a straight gangster. And everybody in Philadelphia, when they heard that, starts laughing out loud. Because that's how unknowledgeable people are. And that's why I always say, you don't got to take my word for nothing. All you've got to do is know the right people. And don't take what people say. Like, I'll give you an example. And this is probably going to start some shit. Scott Bernstein is full of shit. Scott Bernstein, who calls himself the authority, he's really an authority on African-American gangs. I'll give him that. But when it comes to the mob, he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Okay. And here's just my point. He proffered a guy, he stood a guy up, a guy by the name of Gunnar Lindblom, who was a fucking nothing, not related to anybody. He lied to the public for years, saying he was a member of the Toko crime family. Scott, a published author, continued to lie to people, knowing that this story was fake. And then he finally comes out like a couple years later and admits to it after he gets caught. This is, I shouldn't have propped him up. You know, he really wasn't anybody. So how can you take anything that Scott says seriously after that? And this is going to prove a point to you, is that a lot of these, oh, what do you call them? That is a great photo with Nikki Scarfo. Oh my God. Thank you very much. A lot of these mob authors don't know anybody. George Anastasia obviously does, but somebody like Scott really doesn't know anybody. And so he gets enamored with these nobodies. And like, that's what I don't understand. Gemini 77, thank you very much. I appreciate it. But that's my thing. If Scott's not telling the truth about X, Y, and Z, who this guy is, why the fuck would you believe anything else he has to say? He said things about John Gotti that were so inaccurate that I couldn't believe. Is Scott a smart guy? Absolutely. I don't want to dog Scott, but I just, come on, man. Like he wrote, let me give you another story. Okay. He wrote a story about something down in South Philadelphia, right? Something that I knew that was absolutely 1000% not accurate. Okay. And what he wrote was that there was some sort of wedding party or engagement party with the guy's daughter who was getting married, and that this particular alleged so-and-so had sat everybody at this engagement by name and rank by city. Do you know how stupid that sounds? And here's the funny part. The guy he was saying this about doesn't have a daughter. He made the whole fucking thing up, or he got so bad information. And so I tried to do the right thing. And I sent him an email. I said, listen, your story, not for nothing, is bullshit. And let me tell you why. And he didn't take it down. No, Gunner's not a Toko. Gunner's a Lindblom. He's a nothing. He's a nobody. He's not related to anybody. He made everything the fuck up. He made everything the fuck up. He was a meth head and a roid head. That's it. And a bank robber, which is a pretty tough thing to be. But he's never a mob guy, never any of these things. When you said he was a crackhead, I thought you were still talking about Ron Previty. I was thinking, how is a meth head still that fat? I don't know. But that's the thing. I'm not trying to be a jerk off and call Scott names or anything like that. I'm just saying, in reality, he just doesn't tell the truth, and he doesn't know anything about Philadelphia. So he takes everything that George Anastasia tells him, which is a little funny to me. It's like, I can't be the only one that does research. I mean, they don't do real research. They just read what newspapers or Wikipedia. No, absolutely. Listen, that's a good question for him. Is, in fact, I don't know if you listen to Lee Cole. Lee Cole grilled his ass. Lee Cole interviewed Scott and says, why would you step this guy up and lie for him? And Scott's like, didn't know what to say. But he had to because, honest to God, go listen to Lee Cole. Lee Cole had a great, whether you like Lee Cole or not, Lee Cole had a great fucking interview. He asked Scott a lot of tough questions. Why the fuck would you platform this guy? He's nobody. But here's the thing. There's a lot of nobodies that get platformed, and that's just, first of all, any real legit guy is not going on YouTube. We do have some that are in my chat that are legit people, and I would never tell you who they are, but I always crack up when I see them in here, See, there you go. There you go. Meanwhile, Scott gave him street credibility, and he made money off writing it and selling books. And he also got sued for stealing money from people. There were multiple lawsuits against Gunner for taking money and not giving T-shirts and stuff like that. So just be very careful. The guy's just not a good guy. He's never liked me. He used to tell me he was going to come here and baseball bat me, and I kept asking him, sure, when you coming? I could use a lobotomy. Let me ask you guys a question about something. I'm going to get off of here in like 10 minutes because I see somebody else is going on and I don't want to interrupt them. Anybody that knows anything about YouTube, probably the next 3 weeks, Gemini, they're going to be starting in probably 3 weeks, right at the tail end of March. It's coming. It's this month. How come I saw people earlier saying hello to somebody in the chat, but they don't show up in my chat and I don't have them blocked. So why would I not see them in my chat? I don't understand how that works. Is there something off with YouTube? Or am I wrong? I just don't understand it. Like I have a lot of people blocked, but I saw everybody saying here, maybe I'll go back. Oh man. Like, I don't even know who's in here, because if somebody was in here, because I saw somebody all saying hello to somebody, but yet I didn't see them in here. This right here. Was Angel in the chat? Was she actually in the chat? Because I didn't even see her in here. She doesn't even pop up. And I don't know if hit the live chat up top. I don't know where the fuck that is. Yeah, like, hold on. Comments? Chat? No. Like, this has happened repeatedly. There was a bunch of other people that said, hey, how come you didn't say hi to me in the chat? I didn't fucking see us. So I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. Oh, she knows what my rant was about. Please. Yeah, it was weird because I never saw her in I never saw her in here. That's what's weird. That happens all the time. And I just can't understand why. She knows what my rant was about, please. She's silly if she doesn't. No. I figured she was only she was coming in here to spy. That's what she was here to do. See if I was talking shit about people. Not really. I'm just bullshitting. Anyway, we've been going for about an hour and 10. I'm going to go for probably 5 more minutes, guys. I'm exhausted. I didn't get any sleep last night. And I got to turn around, double back, and I have to work on the horror stuff for next week. We're going to do some Men in Black stuff, and then we're going to talk about Ed Gein and stuff like that. Okay, so I'll address this. First of all, if you actually knew what you were talking about, I took 3 years off, dumbass. If you knew anything else, I would tell you this too. I don't need to be on YouTube. That's not how I make my money. I just do this to say hello to everybody. Because if you actually knew what you were talking about, see how calm I am, then you would know that I have a podcast that has close to 15,000 subscribers at $10 a month per person. I don't need YouTube. I do this for free to hang out with people. This is why I don't ask for money. So therefore, I suggest you understand what you're talking about before you say stupid shit. Thank you very much, and go fuck yourself. Does that answer that? I'm enjoying the horror podcast. It's interesting. I love both your shows for the historical content. Yeah, that's what I try to do. That's what I try to do. Listen, I don't care about numbers. This is like YouTube is just for me to say hello to all you guys. I don't ask you guys for a dime. I make plenty of money with 3 businesses, and then I got the podcast, so I'm making money. Like, oh, I'm like cracking 20,000 subs. Let me tell you what, asshole. Let me say this to that prick. If I interviewed every fucking rat like your little fucking fiends that you watch, I'd have 100,000 subs, and I could have had every rat known to fucking man. But I won't talk to rats because I have standards, and I have morals, and I have obligations to my friends. So there you go. Does that answer that, cocksucker? Stupid is, stupid does, Mom always said. Ireland. We love Ireland. I love Ireland. I spent a lot of time in Dublin and in Dublin and Cork. I got shit-faced drunk in Cork. Oh, my God. And in Dublin. In Belfast as well. Yeah. Well, then you're going to like our thing on the Men in Black. I got a really weird video that somebody sent to me. So you ever seen this? The Men in Black shit. So that's what I'm researching right now because I just think that they're creepy looking. There was a false angel profile in the chat. Aha! There is one that shows up. Okay, so that's probably what it was. It probably was not the real angel. There you go. There you go. Okay, well, at least that answers that question. There's always one asshole. No, there's always multiple assholes. You know what I mean? But that's okay. I don't get mad when they come in and want to assail me and stuff like that. But it's just I think people just want to be yelled at or something. Like they want to, I got him upset. I got him upset. He said something. Like, I don't care if I had, listen, believe it or not, if I only had 3,000 subs, I wouldn't care. If I had 100, I wouldn't care. It's not about subs, clicks, and views for me. I don't care about any of that stuff. I enjoy doing this, just talking to you guys, because I don't need to do that. I don't need to do this YouTube shit for a living. I just don't. If I did, it would be different. You'd see me out here like 6 days a week, and if I needed, that's the other thing too. I got to say, just to toot my own horn for 1 second. Not a lot of people do 3.5-hour podcasts once a week. Okay. And so when you take that $10, right, you got to pay tax on that. Then Stripe takes their percentage out. I'm not making $10 a month. I did this for a year where I think I was charging $5. You know what I was getting off of $5? $1.50 a person. It wasn't a get rich thing. It was just meant to offset and let me buy new toys, new microphones and stuff like that. Are the Men in Black aliens? Well, that's kind of what we're going to talk about, because I don't know what the fuck they are, but I have a very weird video that is completely creepy looking. So that's what we're going to talk about next Friday. We're going to talk about Men in Black, and then the following week, the week after that, we'll talk about something different. But I'm trying to mix it up a great deal as much as I can. That Tommy guy was talking subversive, just like DB. What's up, Chi-Town? I love Chicago too. I've been to Chicago. Cold as fuck, that city. My God. I will be in Chicago. I will be in Chicago soon, believe it or not. Of course, I'm also going to be in Louisiana, Florida, Boston, Rhode Island. Where else am I going to be? Buffalo, Philadelphia, Texas. Yeah, I'm going to be all over the place. You guys will see soon enough. Joe P says, if people even knew who you are, you're the best in the originator. Well, I don't know if I'm the best. I know I was the first. I'll be probably the last. I'll be 80 and they'll be carting me out of here with a cigarette in my trach hole. Hold on, let me just get this point across. Fuck rats. Okay, now you can take me. That'll be me. So? Yes, I knew Frank. I knew Frank. And one thing that I will say about Frank is that of all of the informants out there, I think that was the one guy that really truly was haunted by everything that he did, from the murder to becoming an informant. That guy died a broken fucking guy. I can tell you that. I can tell you that. He was hilarious. He him and John Alite had some hilarious fights, calling each other rats on Facebook. And fucking Alite would say, "Oh, go have another drink," and then fucking Ganji would turn around and say, "Yeah, go fuck another boy in his ass, you homo." Like it was just, oh my god! If you go to Google and type in John Alite versus Frank Ganji and hit images, oh my god, you'll see all the texts of them going after each other left and right. It was hilarious. It really was. Worcester, what's up? Yes, I have. I definitely have. What's up from Detroit? How are you? Mark, I know you're from Yokohama. Men in Black, meet and welcome the aliens. That's what people say. That's what people say. Now, Billy, what the fuck is it with you? No, I don't eat there. Listen, I said this about Philadelphia, and a lot of people in Philly get pissed when I say it. Your food is bland. You have to dump hot sauce and pepper and salt on everything because it tastes bland. Either that or just New York food, or what I'm used to eating is just really spicy. You know, listen, those places, Gino and Pat's and Phillips Steaks and all that, that's great for when you're shit faced and you just need to eat something to get on the road. Past all that, I wouldn't eat that. Because if you're not careful, you hit that Jersey line and you're like, oh, fuck, I hope there's the woods somewhere. I got to shit my brains out. You know, it's just how it works. Did you see the picture that RJ put up with him and Mikey Scars? He puts the best friend I have. Doesn't this prick know Mikey Scars betrayed his entire family of 50 years? So here's what I can say about RJ. I think RJ is one of the brightest in the genre. He's a smart guy. I call him a kid. I don't know how old he is, but I know I'm older than he is. He's very smart. And I think him and I had a huge misunderstanding about what I was doing, what he was doing. He knows that I don't like the rat shit, but I'm also smart enough to know that somebody in this genre who does not want to pigeonhole themselves is going to do that. And that's all there is to it. Whether or not he believes Mikey Scars is really his friend, I don't think he's that naive. I really don't think RJ's that naive. Are they close? I'm sure they are. Because Mikey Scars, who else did he work with? Nobody. Just RJ, right? But I'm going to tell you the secret, and this is no disrespect to RJ at all, because I really like him, is this. If you really think that Mikey Scars doesn't lie to you, you're crazy. Because that's all they do. They're criminals. You can't forget, at the end of the day, you could let the cobra in the fucking house, but one day the cobra's still going to fucking bite you. Oh, look, he's tame, he's tame, he's tame. But eventually they bite. But, in this genre, unfortunately, you're not going to get made guys that are going to talk to you. So you end up with the rats. That's all there is to talk to. So that's why I make like a subconscious effort to really drill home history. Why would he want to be friends with a rat? Listen, here's my thing, okay? And I'm defending RJ. If somebody wants to be friends with an informant, that is their business. RJ, the last time I checked, isn't a street urchin. I'm a fucking street urchin. I'm just going to tell you the truth. I'm a street urchin. Okay? I grew up around people. I bounce around. That's just the way I am. That's how I lived my life. I still live my life that way in many regards. I don't think RJ necessarily grew up like that. And I think that when you don't grow up like that, you don't have that imaginary bounds and ties to people. He might have grown, I don't know anything about the kid, but he might have grown up in a rough neighborhood, might have grown up with some really knock around guys. I don't know. But when your family is involved in that, there's a big difference. And when you're raised and I almost call it culturized to something, that's what you believe in. So he doesn't have to have the same beliefs that I do. Now, I can choose to have whatever beliefs I want, and I think I've stood by those. But he's a civilian. He's got a right to do whatever he wants. Me, I can't do it. It's not inside of me to do that. And so I don't knock somebody who doesn't have that sense of mentality, because I got to be honest with you. It's a warped fucking sense of, it's a warped mentality to have. I'm warped. But that's the way that I am. That's the way that I was raised. That's the way that I always will be. So I don't hold that against him. The only time I would ever hold that against somebody is when they sit there and they try to pretend that these people are all honest and innocent and have done nothing wrong and they're just a victim of other people. That's where I draw the line with people. Past all that, it's me. It's just, to me, he's grooming RJ to start a new mafia. Nah, I don't think so. Listen, RJ's a smart kid. Whether you like him or not, he's a talented kid. He's a smart kid. He's a good kid. I would sit and have a drink with him and have dinner with that kid anytime, as long as he doesn't bring Mikey Scars. He brings Mikey Scars, we're going to have a huge problem. But no. Okay, so here's the thing. There is a big difference between being book smart versus street smart. There are two different things. Does he understand the politics of things? Yes. But does he understand them like I do? No. Does he understand them like some other people? No, because he probably hasn't exactly been in that situation. But he is book smart. He's smart. He's not a dumb guy. But is his street acumen as high up as his educational acumen? No. And I'm not knocking him at all. And maybe I'm wrong. I've never sat down and had a conversation with the kid, so I could be wrong. But I think that he's dumb? No. Is he street smart? Is he a schemer? No, of course not. Of course not. RJ actually got me listening to you. He said you were the best in the business. I agree with him. Well, I don't know if I'm the best in the business. Believe it or not, you guys are going to scream when I tell you this. I told RJ that if I ever say this is enough and I'm done, he can take the name Mob Talk Radio. I'll let him take it. He's the only one I would let do that. And the reason why I say that, I mean, he knows he's not me, but this is the way he sort of put it to me, is he said, all of these years I've been listening to you, I couldn't quite figure out exactly what you were doing. I kind of knew where you were like going with things. And he said, then I heard you on your show the other day and you said something and it finally all made sense. I am the voice for the street guys. There's never been a voice for them. It's always been for the rats, or it's always been for the government. I'm the voice of the other side. And that's how I chose to do things. That's what makes me different than everybody else. I'm the only one that defends them. Who else does? Name me one person that does. You can't name one. I'm the only one that does. And I call a spade a spade. So from an educational aspect in the history of it, I think RJ's one of the best history-wise. He knows what he's talking about. We're always going to disagree on some stuff, but that's I would rather disagree with somebody and have like a healthy disagreement, but that doesn't make him dumb or inferior to me at all. The people that are dumb are the ones that love these fucking every single rat they come across. They're the fucking dumb ones, because they refuse to acknowledge that these people are lying scumbag fucks. Like, it's okay they beat women. Oh, okay. That's just sort of where I stand with things, Who's more powerful in their heyday, Buffalo or Patriarcha? You mean Buffalino? Probably Russell Buffalino. And not because he was a tougher guy, but he was more conciliatory, I think. And Buffalino would be hard pressed to kill somebody. Patriarcha, no, not so much. Scar says he regrets what he did. Do you buy it? No, he regrets he got caught. He regrets that he has to look in the mirror and knows he's a fucking rat. He regrets he has no fucking money and his own children won't talk to him. Those are regrets. You're never going to meet somebody that ever says, I regret killing those people. I regret stealing money. I regret bullshit. They don't regret any of it. They regret getting caught. They regret telling on people. Well, I don't even think they regret that. But you know what? I'm not him. I don't know his heart. I can't speak for him. But do I honestly think? I don't buy it now. I got to be honest with you. I don't. Keep doing your thing. Stick up for yourself. You have the best real content. That's what I keep trying to tell myself every day, my friend Chris the Cop. See, you guys think that like I hate all law enforcement. See, I'm nice to Chris the Cop. I don't have a problem with law enforcement. I don't like to engage them. Other than Chris the cop, he seems like a nice guy. And 556 Media seems like he's a very nice guy that goes on Angel's show every once in a while. He seems like an intelligent guy. But yeah, if anybody asks me anything, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You know? All right, so I'm going to get out of here. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. We'll be back next week with an all-new Mob Talk Radio Live. But next Friday specifically, please listen to me close. We want as many people to come in here as possible. Next Friday night, 9:00, Tales of the Night Horror Podcast, Men in Black. Everybody come, share it, tell everybody, because we want a big crowd in the house. You know, what? I don't like hot dog cups. Oh. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. So don't forget, guys, next Friday, 9:00 at night, Tales of the Night Horror Podcast. Thank you for all of the nice comments. Thank you for joining me this evening. Thank you for putting up with my rant. And most importantly, thank you for the donations. You guys don't have to do that. I appreciate it very much. If anybody needs anything, you can reach out to me at my email address. Chardonnay, young lady, take care of yourself and get on the mend, and we'll see everybody soon.